This is Jordan Wagner with PremierGuitar.com, and I'm sitting here with Eric Peterson of the band Testament. And Eric, can you tell us some about your new Dean Signature Flying V?
Yeah, it's my new signature, my first signature in 25 years. It's basically the old school V that they first put out. It's got the um, all the specs of an older Gibson one, but it's got the more recent headstock, which the first one was really large, and then they went to a smaller one. And this one's kind of like a perfect size, I think. It's really cool because it complements the body. It's kind of like a reverse. It's a mini V headstock, and it's the classic Dean. Um, what I like about it, what they let me do, was to take the artwork from the Dean wing, which is the trademark, the wings. And right, well, basically, let me explain what the art is. The art is our skull from the first record. Actually, this is the skull from before we had our first record out. This is like the skull when we were called Legacy, and it's kind of like the artist. It's kind of resembles like Frazetta art or something. It's that that kind of era, and it's kind of hard to see, but on top of his head is there's mesh with the dragon looking down at like this goat head, like the goat of Nanny's or whatever, kind of black metal stuff, whatever. Before black metal was black metal. Um, so what I did is I took the dragon and the goat of Nanny's, I think that's how you pronounce it, and I put it up here. And what Dean let me do is take the dragon wings and convert them into the dragon, which is really cool. And I had a hard time letting go. Let me get a little bit of dragon, scale in there. And they're like, oh man, because I was gonna have all this like winged, kind of like like a dragon wing.
Right.
But it's really cool. I mean, we had a hard time with the color because they wanted to do like a Porsche silver or a white, and I just I go, look, I want it a little bit more elusive, more dark. I don't want it to be so I mean, it's already metal enough. So we went with like this kind of really thicker looking sparkle and it was really hard to get the detail on the graphics there, but it's pretty twisted. This guy from Israel redid the dragon in this on there because this right here, if you can see on there, it's not enough detail to make to put up there. Pickup wise, like I said, they wanted me to do like a like my own pickup, to save money and cost and stuff. But I'm like, if I'm going to do my signature, I want it to be exactly how I would play it. I want to try to cut any corners to make nice or to, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up going with what I've used for a long time. I like passive pickups as well. I've used the JB and the 59 Alex in the beginning forever. Then on the new order, I switched over to EMG. Then I've kind of gone back and forth between passive. Actually, when I did the new record, I used DiMarzio Super Distortions, which are great pickups. I love those. They're total classic killer pickups. But EMG overall is very consistent. So this is the 81. This is the 85. I used to use the 85 here, but the 85, what that is, the difference is it's basically the same pickup. But this pickup, the 85, has got a little bit of swoop in the mid-range. And I like that for the neck position because, you get that kind of, how do I explain it, kind of bluesy Dave Murray lead tone. You know what I mean? Dave Murray's got that real warm kind of tone. So, and then the 81 has just got a lot of bite to it. And, therefore, you don't need distortion boxes. I don't use any of that crap. I don't need all these pedals. It's like, why? Get it out of the guitar in your hand.
So, are there any sort of effects at all that you use, period, live?
Yeah, I do use some effects. Of course, I have the Boss tuner on stage, which is great because you can look right down. It's in line with everything. I use the Dunlop wah, and my secret thing, what I use, which I keep on all the time, and I use it through my effects loop, is I always have a delay on. And right now I'm using, and I'm probably gonna always use it because it's just the quality is amazing. It's the TC Nova delay, and it's a stomp box. They also make great rack stuff. We have, that's all we use in the studio is TC stuff for vocals, and when we mix the record, we got like 12 D2s and D1s, whatever. But they just recently came out with the stomp box. It's called the Nova delay, and it's got analog setting, tape setting, and what's digital. and it's great. I mean, it's really clean. You can get like up to 2,000 milliseconds, which you probably wouldn't want to use, but
It's
I keep
available if needed.
yeah, I keep it at about 500 for everything. Another really thing cool about the Dean stuff is they put their strings through the body, and that really gives a lot more sustain because it's got to go through there and it goes through the body, and it
Yeah.
you know
I also noticed that the top frets are scalloped.
yeah. Not I did this myself. I just wanted to try it out, because
It's a
I
good job, actually.
yeah, it's a little bit more than I would have liked. I don't recommend anybody trying to do it themselves. You should probably have your guitar dealership do it or something. But it's cool. I think this guitar is better off without it. This is my C sharp guitar. I use this one more as a backup. The original one doesn't come scalloped, so
Okay.
this is just like a thing I added on. But it's pretty cool. I mean, it's basically scallop is really good for shredding and or like if you want to mute and pick fast. A really cool thing about Dean guitars is it's called a V-neck. It's basically in between a Les Paul and a SG neck, but the end, like right here, it's kind of instead of being round, it's more like a V, kind of like a really old Spanish classical guitar. Used to have those. Chuck's banged this thing with his mic so many times, and there's no dings on my guitar at all. So the quality is really good, and like I said, triple binding, and it's a really good price guitar. I think it's listed at like I want to say like 699 or 7 around there. So it's a very affordable, but the quality is just like that's out of 10. It doesn't really sound like that.
Well, can you talk a little bit about your amp rig?
My amp rig is pretty new. This time around, on the new, I've been using. I started off with Marshall, and then I switched to Mesa Boogie. I was using the triple rectifier for a while. On the new record, I wanted to try something different. And by chance, I was going into Guitar Center to pick up some strings, and a buddy of mine there was like, "Hey, you got to try out this amp." I'm like, I got to go. He's all, "Dude, you got to try this amp out." So I was like, "Well, what is it?" And he goes, "It's the new Eddie Van Halen." And I go, "PV," and whatever. So I don't. And he goes, "No, dude, it's made by Fender." And I'm like, "Hmm." So I went in there and I just kind of put my settings how I usually have them, plugged it in, and mind you, with the cabinet, because the cabinet is like this birch ply. You have to have. To me, that's a great match. Some amps you can use other heads, and it sounds kind of cool, but this amp I think is built for this cabinet because it's got vintage 25 or 30 watt speakers in it. So, but yeah. Anyway, so I plugged it in, and it was just like it sounded like the first Van Halen record. It just had this over the top presence, treble crunch, but still really modern and dense. And I was just like, wow. So I ended up buying it that day. It was the only one they had, and I bought it, and I used it on the record. I A-B'd all the stuff, all my other amps that I've had in the studio. We were actually getting ready to record the new record too. So I ended up using that for the record, and I think the difference between my tone now and like the Gathering, it's just that much better. Just a little bit more better. And the best way to describe it is like, Eddie Van Halen's tone on like "You Really Got Me" or "Ain't Talking About Love," that where he mutes the chin 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 chin. That's what the amp sounds like. It's really good. And of course, if you want to hear what it sounds like with me, check out the new record. I did most of the rhythms on the record, so it's very consistent, especially more than meets the eye. I mean, that's just a lot of it's in your hands and muting the way you hit it, but the amp helps a lot too.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, Eric. Appreciate it.
No problem.
This is Jordan Wagner, and you're watching PremierGuitar.com.